This is not just another retro motorcycle story, and it's definitely not just about design. Because if Kawasaki moves forward with what insiders are quietly hinting at, the Z950RS for 2026 could become something far more dangerous than Honda expected. Not because it's louder, not because it's faster on paper, but because it attacks the one area Honda thought it already owned. And that changes everything. For decades, Kawasaki has played a very specific role in the retro motorcycle world. Aggressive, bold, slightly rebellious. While Honda focused on balance and mass appeal, Kawasaki quietly built a reputation for making retro bikes that feel emotional, not just correct. The Z900RS proved that. It didn't just sell well, it created a loyal following, riders who didn't want nostalgia alone, but wanted character, torque, and presence. And now, the Z950RS name is starting to surface. Not officially announced, not confirmed on spec sheets, but mentioned just enough to make one thing clear. Kawasaki isn't done. To understand why the Z950RS matters, you need to understand what's happening in the retro market right now. Retro motorcycles are no longer entry-level toys or weekend cafe racers. They are becoming primary bikes. Riders want classic design, but they also want modern torque, modern safety, and real-world usability. Honda knows this. That's why we've seen aggressive moves with the CB lineup. But here's the problem. Honda's retro strategy has been careful. Kawasaki's strategy has been confident. And confidence is harder to compete with. The idea behind a Z950RS is simple, and that's what makes it dangerous. Take the emotional DNA of the Z900RS, increase displacement just enough to step into a higher class, refine torque delivery instead of chasing peak horsepower, and keep the design unapologetically classic. If Kawasaki executes this correctly, the Z950RS wouldn't compete with middleweights anymore. It would sit right in the space Honda has been quietly protecting. This is where things get uncomfortable for Honda, because Honda's retro identity relies heavily on heritage credibility. Names like CB, 4, Bulldor, they carry history. But heritage alone doesn't win markets anymore. What wins is how a bike makes you feel the moment you ride it. And Kawasaki understands that deeply. A Z950RS doesn't need to beat Honda on spec sheets. It doesn't need class-leading numbers. It just needs to feel alive. Strong mid-range torque. A riding position that feels intentional, not compromised. A sound that reminds you why you chose an inline-four in the first place. If those elements come together, the Z950RS becomes more than a retro bike. It becomes a statement. Now here's the part most people aren't talking about. A Z950RS wouldn't just affect Honda's current lineup, it would affect Honda's future decisions. Because once Kawasaki moves into that upper retro segment, Honda can't afford to respond slowly. Suddenly, bikes that were planned become urgent. Projects that were safe get reevaluated. This is how retro wars escalate, quietly, internally, and strategically. And that's why the Z950RS rumor matters. Not because it's confirmed, but because it makes sense. It fits Kawasaki's trajectory, it fits market demand, and it fits the emotional gap Honda has yet to fully dominate. Which raises a bigger question. What happens if the Z950RS launches before Honda fully locks down its next-generation retro flagship? What happens if Kawasaki defines the segment first? History tells us something very clear. In the retro market, the first bike that feels right usually wins loyalty for years. This isn't about rivalry headlines, it's about timing. And timing is where manufacturers either win quietly or regret loudly. If Kawasaki pulls this off, the Z950RS won't just be another retro option. It will become the benchmark Honda is forced to respond to. So the real question isn't whether the Z950RS is real, The real question is this: if Kawasaki does release it in 2026, is Honda actually ready? Or is this the moment the retro game truly changes? Let me know what you think. Would you choose a Z950RS over a future Honda CB flagship? Or is Honda's heritage still impossible to beat? Your answer might reveal where this market is really headed.